Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our monthly webinar series. We're going to go ahead and get started. Our webinar in February is Teaching and Advising Career Pathways. So if you can see my screen and you can hear me, you're off to a good start, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So for all of you joining the webinar, you'll receive an access to the recording, and we will post all of our webinars on our website. We'll go ahead and get started with just some general tips on using Zoom for the webinar. So all of our guest speakers and panelists today are unmuted, and our attendees are on mute. So you'll have an opportunity to, here's where you can test your audio. And this is going to be where you raise your hand and lower your hand if you have a question, and we will keep track of all of our questions. And then this is where you will input any questions and hit send. We'll make sure to respond to those. And there's where you change your screen size. So just to get us started, we'd like to share some numbers about who is using Texas OnCourse. As many of you know, when we began, we had over 2,500 counselors and advisors help build Texas OnCourse across the state. And fast forward to today, and we have 10,617 educators that are registered for our academy and using our learning modules. And we have 2,863 schools using Texas OnCourse in 913 school districts in Texas. So that's over 75% of districts across the state, which has shown us kind of amazing growth, which is very awesome. We're happy to celebrate that. So that's who's using Texas OnCourse right now. And we usually want to review how our academy is set up. We now have 4 content areas: career pathways, financial aid, post-secondary pathways, and specialties. So this morning, the webinar format will look like this. We'll have everyone do a quick introduction, and then we have a lesson spotlight from Jamie Bell and our content team here at Texas OnCourse. And then we have a resource spotlight from Jaslyn Green. Lori Knight is joining us as Educational Outreach Specialist from TWC, the Texas Workforce Commission. And then Christy Barrera has some information on how CTE career pathways work in the San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated ISD. After that, we'll go over our remaining webinars for the school year. We have 4 more, and then we'll have time for question and answer. So just to briefly introduce myself, my name is Laura Guggen. I'm Senior Partnerships Coordinator here at Texas OnCourse, and I work directly with middle school campuses and educators that are implementing our middle school curriculum guide, as well as Middle Galaxy and MapMyGrad.
Good morning. My name is Jaslyn Green. I'm the Associate Director of Content and Resources on Texas OnCourse, so managing all of the information included in our tools to make sure that it's up to date and accurate for you guys.
Jamie?
Hi, I'm Jamie Bell. Yeah, sorry, it said my internet was slow. I review and create, revise, update any content related to our middle school tools and resources. Prior to this, I taught 7th grade science and wrote curriculum for my district.
I'm Lori Knight. I'm the Lead Education Outreach Specialist with the Texas Workforce Commission, and I've been in this role for 4.5 years now.
Good morning, I'm Christy Barrera. I am the CTE Counselor for San Felipe Del Rio CISD, as well as the Texas OnCourse Leader Fellow.
Great, thanks everyone.
Okay, so we are going to spotlight a lesson from the first chapter of our first unit of the new curriculum guide. And the new curriculum guide was really designed, focused on the whole student. So while studying career pathways, we also wanted the students to keep in mind their own vision for their life. So the lesson we're spotlighting is lesson 1.2, investigating career clusters and programs of study. I'll give you a minute to look over the outline before I go into some more detail. So this lesson is pretty straightforward, where the students research the career clusters and then analyze and apply what they've learned to their own life goals. Next. And here are images or screenshots of the students' work during this lesson. The left image is a simple note, The left image is a simple note organization tool where they're researching, or they're summarizing the cluster, they're giving an approximate salary range and an education range. And then the image on the right is more of a synthesis of where they see themselves going after having researched. And if the students aren't ready to decide what to put in this section, you can always help guide them with questions about their own interest and kind of help them narrow down what cluster they could be interested in from there. Next. So that was a quick spotlight on lesson 1.2, but here's a recap of the overall middle school curriculum guide 2.0. There's, and where you can find more information, there's lessons, suggested implementation calendar, and a bank of assessment questions that are all aligned and incorporating the Texas OnCourse tools and resources. And now I'm gonna hand it over to Jaslyn Green.
Thanks, Jamie. Good morning again. This is Jaslyn. One of our goals at Texas OnCourse is to ensure that the resources and infographics included in the Academy are ones that you can download, print, and immediately use in your advising sessions with students and their families. The resources that we'd like to highlight for this webinar are questions to help students choose a career cluster, the 3 steps to explore career pathways, and the teaching and training career pathways. So as Jamie previously mentioned, it is definitely a best practice to help students explore which career cluster they're most interested in. And if they struggle, as she mentioned, maybe having them start off with identifying their interests is a great starting point. So this career cluster quiz is a great resource to help students identify their interests and truly determine which of those 16 career clusters is best fit. To complete the quiz, students answer a series of questions related to each cluster. If a student answers yes to 5 or more of the questions on a single career cluster, then that cluster may be right for that student. This infographic can be found in our Career Clusters, Pathways, and Endorsements module under Unit 1, Career Clusters. This next infographic is entitled The 3 Steps to Explore Career Pathways. Selecting career pathways can really be more overwhelming for students and their families than choosing a career cluster, just because of the sheer number of career pathways that are available. So this infographic showcases a brief activity developed by the College Board to help students explore all of their possibilities. It begins by having students identify their interests and then thinking about thinking about how they get there with researching what are those education requirements, similar to the activity that Jamie mentioned at the middle school level. You can do the exact same thing at the high school level. And most importantly, it highlights the importance of having students really test out those career pathways of interest. So having students really think about what can they do now to experience one of the jobs on their list and just kind of figure out what is a day in a life like for that particular job. This infographic is great to share with students and their families as well, and it's available in our Research and Post-Secondary Options module under Unit 1, which career pathways are right for a student. And the last infographic we wanted to highlight is entitled Teaching and Training Career Pathways. As you all know, each career pathway is as individualized as the student following the pathway. So there are various points so students can take advantage of both education and occupational preparation opportunities, so they offer various entry points. These entry points are ways for students to begin a career pathway regardless of their education and skills they currently possess. So in other words, students can start in an entry-level job in a career pathway, and with more education experience, they can move up the pathway. So this infographic showcases an example of the various entry points for teaching and training career pathway. So students with a high school diploma could enter this pathway by starting off as a teacher assistant, gain more education, and advance throughout the pathway. This infographic is available in our Basic Principles of Career Pathways modules for you to download today. And in the Academy, we have generated a number of resources, including infographics that you've seen today and handouts that you could just basically print off and hang up in your office or simply hand out to students. So you can find the resources throughout the module, but for the resources that we're highlighting today, we have them available for you to download on our Pinterest. This is a snapshot of the Pinterest boards for the Career Clusters and Pathways and Endorsements module. And also the Basic Principles of Career Pathways. You can access these boards by visiting www.pinterest.com/TexasOnCourse. And now I'm going to turn it over to Lori from the Texas Workforce Commission to share some additional resources that you could use in your advising sessions. Lori.
Thank you, Jaslyn. So I'm going to talk about some of the resources that we have currently in circulation, but I'm actually really excited to talk to you guys about some stuff that we have coming soon. So if you can go ahead and move forward, Laura. Thank you. I do want to introduce you to the members of our team. For those of you who aren't aware yet, we do have 4 members of the team now. Melissa Barnes comes to us from high school as a counselor. Both Micah and Major Jones come to us with experience both the high school level, but specifically within special ed in middle school. And then there's me, been around for a little bit. Most of my experience in teaching and academic advising was at the collegiate level. So we bring all of our experience together into one team. We do have a shared email address, which is there on the screen. And so that's the easiest way to contact our particular team if you're interested in inviting us out to schools or just communicating with us about our tools and resources. Okay. So the main audiences of who we work with is pretty much anybody within the realm of academics. So we're talking to students as young as elementary level all the way through college, and then anyone who would be considered faculty or staff, whether it's administrators or boots on the ground teachers and counselors. And we do a lot of partnership with nonprofits, or just education partners, other agencies across the state as well. So our pretty much bread and butter, the services that we provide is essentially presentations, and that could be to, again, students, faculty, or staff. But we also do a lot of professional development sessions. We can go into any environment and just do a showcase of the resources, or we can take a deep dive and actually demo them, or we can do a combination of the two. We also attend a lot of career fairs around the state, and one of the products or the interactive pieces that we bring with us, we call it the selfie booth. It's not necessarily a booth, but it's a series of about 95 different cartoon caricatures that are drawn in different occupations with the heads missing, so that students can take photos with them and do selfies and post them all over their social media. But it's also a teaching moment, because on the back of each board is labor market data about those specific occupations or others that are similar. Okay. Thank you. So these are some sample presentation topics that we've been asked to present on when we go into schools. Again, when we're talking with students, it could be something as simple as, how can I polish up my resume to help me get selected for interviews more often? It could be also just, let's talk about interviewing techniques or even practicing it. We can talk specifically about, labor market data and how it relates to the region or the state. We can do career exploration, all kinds of things. So we're pretty flexible in what we can present. Go ahead and move forward, Laura. Thank you. One of the bigger pieces that we do, especially with faculty and staff and administrators, more specifically, is we share a lot of data. So we have all kinds of data that we can share, and we can, like, you can email one of us and we can put together information about your region or other regions of the state if you happen to need it for any kind of programmatic decision making or proposal writing, things of that nature. So we can discuss our collect for you projections, so an outlook of what's going to happen over the next decade in the workforce. We can look at current real-time job posting numbers, so what are the top 25 occupations that have been posted the most in any given region of the state. We can also look at hot jobs, so demand for jobs based on high growth and wages that are at or above the state mean, excuse me, and also have high demand. So there's a lot of demand for the occupation over a long period of time. We can also give you information about occupation wage, and this is, I think, important, especially those working with students, because a lot of the career exploration tools that you may find out there can show you, it'll show you the average or the mean salary for any given occupation, but it may not necessarily show you how different an entry-level wage into the same occupation may be. The data that we can give you and that we can collect for you will show you entry-level, mean average, or mean and average, as well as experienced wages for any occupation. And then we also collect skill demand, skill and certification demand, and when we're mining information to collect the total number of job postings that are happening in any given area, we're also scrubbing the content in those job postings so that we can collect which technical skills, which soft skills, and which certifications and licenses are listed the most by keyword, so that we can tell which are, so for example, which are preferred, and then also which are required in order to apply for a specific occupation. So we can collect that information and compare it to demand that students have based on what they're interested in getting trained and educated for. So I'm not going to take too deep a dive in these, Laura, so we'll probably be going through the next slides pretty quickly, but I did want to show you a couple of publications that we have in circulation, and some of these you may have already seen. But I do want to let you know ahead of time that you can order any of these off of our website. If you email any of us, we can send you our order form, and they're pretty much at cost to print. So you can get many of these for like a dime or 25 cents. But you can also download any of our publications online as downloadable PDFs, because we don't copyright any of our materials. So you can download them as PDFs, you can print them yourself and duplicate them, or send the PDF off to your own printer if you want. So. So if you can go ahead and move ahead, Laura. Thank you. So again, we can get those data types for you. All that information is in all of our publications. So for example, the projections data that we can pull is actually in this occupation highlights handout. Now this is a great conversation starter for students, especially those who may not know what occupation they're interested in, if they're just kind of, haven't really thought too much about it yet. At least, if anything, this particular document can show them those occupations that will be in high demand over the next decade. And for many of them, that's well beyond when they're done with college. So this could give them a good idea of the kinds of trainings or education that they might want to invest in that may actually have a job waiting for them when they're done. It is divided into several different categories. So like fastest growing are the ones with the most demand, are the occupations in the most demand where associate degree or certification is a requirement, or bachelor's degree. So it lists it in very easy to read lists. It has an occupation title as well as the mean salary. Okay, you can move ahead. This particular document is information that we collected when we surveyed a lot of employers and said, if you had a group of high school students sitting in front of you, what advice would you give them about social media? What advice would you give them about job interviewing or the soft skills needed to do well in the workforce? And we've collected all of these in this very easy to read brochure. And if you hit the button one more time, Laura, there should be, I think there's an animation in there. Yeah. This particular brochure is also available as a classroom poster set. I think it's $12 for 6 posters, but it has all the information that's pertinent, that's contained within this brochure like classroom posters as well. Okay, you can move forward. Beyond High School was a document that was created to kind of discuss all the options available to students outside of or beyond the secondary level. So it does discuss and kind of defines the differences between a community college versus a technical college versus a university, and what does it mean to be private versus public, and how does that affect difference in tuition. So there's all kinds of criteria that the students can look at and make comparisons, but essentially it's meant to be used in tandem with the parent. And there is an 8-step process to help them kind of whittle all their options down. So when they choose to do whatever it is they're going to do beyond the secondary level, it's hopefully the best fit for that particular student. And then we do have bulletins, one for each endorsement, and it features information about the endorsement as it pertains to the TEA requirements for graduation and potential courses that may be available, but it also connects each individual endorsement to potential occupations that are aligned as well. So they're featured in cartoons, they have labor market data too. Now, if students want information, but maybe they don't have access to Wi-Fi at home, or they just don't have the time to do the research, they can call this 1-800 number, and they can it's an automated line. They can leave a message and let us know 3 occupations they're interested, as well as if they want, in addition, 3 colleges or universities that they want information on. And our team will pull all the research for them and mail those summary reports, as well as some of our products, to that student, to their home, to their personal home. And it's a free service. It's available. Anyone can call, minors or adults. And anyone within the realm of academics can call in for a counselor packet. Now, what happens is when you call in for a counselor packet, we will mail you 1 free copy of all of our printed materials. So anything that's career education related. It is a 24-hour automated line so that you can call at any time. So what I'm really excited to talk about is some of the projects that we have currently in progress. So if you could go ahead and move forward, Laura. So there are 6 basic things that we're working on right now pretty heavily. So the first 2 items on this particular slide will show you that we're working on a tool that we're calling Career Investigations and another that we're calling Career Success. Now, we had older versions of these. Essentially, they were tabloid-sized newspaper kind of magazines. We're converting them into 8x10 workbooks with contemporary language, contemporary references, because these guys were originally written about 15 or 16 years ago. So we're completely updating and revamping the content. The content's been done for a while, so right now we're working with attempting to find help in the graphic design and layout portion. Career Investigations is meant to be a career readiness workbook specifically for middle school students. And then Career Success is specific to high school students. So all of the content has been vetted, edited. We're literally just waiting for the layout. So we're hoping to have that process done within the year. We have also written content for a soft skills publication, as well as one that's dedicated to career pathways. These, I would say, topics, these 2 specific topics are probably the most requested by our education partners across the state. When we come in to talk to students, they want us to talk specifically about these 2 things. Labor market, yes, and tools, yes, but specifically, can you talk to my students about soft skills and career pathways? So the career pathways version, we wanted to look at a couple different things. Pathways seems to be the new hot word in education, and so we wanted to first kind of define, like, when we say pathways, exactly what are we talking about? So because a pathway could be, I started at entry-level position in a particular industry, and I level up and kind of move my way through that particular industry and leverage my skills, et cetera, et cetera. But pathway could also be, what educational training did I get in order to go from level A to level B, or even entry into that particular industry or occupation? So it could be, you could be talking about your post-secondary options and experiences, whether you want to go into an apprenticeship to level up on skills, or if you want to go into a community college or a university. So we talk about alternative pathways in that sense, but we're also talking about career pathways and how you move in and through a occupation or industry. We wanted to focus specifically on leverage of skills. So we talk about how skills at, let's say, an entry-level position can be leveraged to move up into occupation. So we're going to feature within that particular product potential pathways through each of the 16 clusters. And we're just going to use them as examples. But also we're going to have the discussion with students. The caveat is that maybe necessarily pathways between where you start and where you end up, they're not always linear. And sometimes people are not only jumping, occupation to occupation, but they are moving through industries, like completely different industries. They can go from IT to healthcare to education and backways and forwards and all kinds of variables. So we talk about how pathways are not necessarily linear. Everybody's different. The workforce of the future looks very different than what it did in the past. So it's a great conversation that we want to have with students. Again, the content for both of those products is also already complete. Right now it's being vetted by leadership and editors. And then it will move into the production process. So we're hoping to also have that done within the next year. But as we know, everything's kind of slow moving because a lot of people need to put their hands on it through the agency in order to make sure that it's an acceptable public facing product. We've also just recently launched a training of trainers. So we're helping folks in different, different audiences. So specifically the training and trainer we just completed was for those working within vocational rehab, working with transitioning students, job seekers with disabilities. And we essentially were helping them to learn how to train on our tools so that they can take the training out to their own regions. So we're kind of excited about that. That's a very specific kind of training that we just launched. And then we also acquired a media specialist within our department. So this person's going to be working with us to build a lot of video tutorials on our tools, on our resources, to help us kind of get the word out in a lot of our services. And so we're really excited about that. And that's what we've been up to. I don't know if I had any more slides, Laura. You can move forward. Oh, this is what the old career investigations look like, but again, it's going to turn into an 8x10 workbook. You can move forward. And this is what the old career success looks like. And some of these you may be familiar with because these were products we had in rotation for many years. You can go ahead and move forward again. These are some of the specifics of what the soft skill publication does. It defines soft skills, but also the importance of them. It helps them to identify. There's lots of activities within the book too to kind of help them process a lot of the information. And then it gives recommendations on how to build the soft skills if they're lacking. And it will provide them with a list of resources too. You can move forward to the next one. Again, and this is about career pathways. Another thing we emphasize is lifelong learning and how that's critical in order to continue to move through the path. And again, we will have some sample pathways identified for each of the clusters, several within each clusters, as a matter of fact. Yeah, you can move forward, Laura. And this is all about our media kit and the kinds of things that we're hoping to include. And I think the next one should be our contact info again. Oh, sorry, JobGel, I forgot about that. TWC just launched a new initiative, JobGel, and essentially it's to help students hopefully garner some interest in the top 8 leading industries that are employing and hiring. They have the highest demand within the state for over the next decade. So there are videos, and you may see this little JobGel logo, the state of Texas, with the JobGel inside of it. As you scroll through Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram, because it's now all over social media, and we're asking students to use our hashtag JobGel if they want to post in questions or information that they may have. But we're also posting a lot of labor market data for different regions with the JobGel hashtag as well. And you can move forward. Yep, and that's it.
All right, thank you so much, Lori. That was really fantastic information from the Workforce Commission. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Switching gears a little bit, we're going to turn it over to Christy Barrera from San Felipe del Rio, CISD, CTE counselor. Christy, I'm going to let you go ahead and review your slides.
Hey, can everybody hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, great. The goal of my presentation really is simply to share ways my district advises students and parents regarding career pathways and endorsements, in the hopes of giving you new ideas to use in your district. So I want to start off by sharing the career clusters in which we offer courses. We have quite a few choices for one high school, offering almost 100 different courses in 13 career clusters. So it's very important for us to make sure the community is aware of these options so students can make the best choice. On the next slide, we have a list of best practices that we use. Throughout the year, we do our best to market our CTE programs to the students in the community. And one of the ways we found to do that is by using our CTE student ambassadors, who are acting as a student expert in their career pathway. The student ambassadors are selected at the beginning of each year to represent each of the 19 pathways. They are featured in a 15-minute long CTE overview video each year. And this video is posted on the school district website and is also shown to all 8th and 9th grade students prior to CTE fairs. The ambassadors also speak at elementary career fairs. They do elementary classroom presentations, and they have a booth at our annual CTE fairs for all 8th and 9th grade students. So that way the students are able to get the student perspective on the classes. I also make sure to do classroom presentations with all 8th and 9th grade students prior to the fairs, so they will have an idea of the pathways they're most interested in and can make good use of their time during the fairs. About half of all of our 8th grade students are able to enroll in the College and Career Readiness course, which provides detail on each pathway. Our students use Texas OnCourse resources such as Map My Grad, the middle school curriculum, and Middle Galaxy to explore all of their options in a fun and engaging way. We hope to make this course a mandatory course as soon as possible, but until that happens, all 8th graders who are not in this class are pulled out for direct instruction in January for several lessons regarding the endorsements and career pathways. We have had CTE nights in the past in which we open up the classroom and labs for students and parents to tour and ask questions. Additionally, we host 2 parent nights prior to pre-registration to provide information on endorsements and the career pathways that are available. We've been doing this for about 5 years now, so parents already know that this is the time they'll be able to sign up for their individual appointment with a counselor and their child to create a 4-year plan. Because of this, the parent attendance is usually very high for these meetings. Parents are able to ask questions, but they have even more individualized attention at their assigned appointment. When we have new parents arriving to our district that come for their scheduled appointment to create their 4-year plan, their children usually have not completed any type of interest inventory. So we are going to be having them complete the Map My Grad this year. Since it's a very short assessment that can be done in a matter of minutes and will help guide the course selection process. So the next slide is just, well, I think it skipped. Did it skip one slide? Yes. Okay, so this right here is just one of the different types of information that I share with the students when I'm in the classroom. Endorsements are difficult for many to understand. So I took a look at the House Bill 5, Chapter 74 document and created this chart as a tailored list of the courses that our district offers. So students can more easily take a look at each of the endorsement options and then find out which CTE options as well as the other options that are available to them and what is required of each. Our CTE teachers have a poster-sized version hanging in their classrooms, which they refer to throughout the year. I know many districts have something similar, but if you do not, I would recommend going through the Chapter 74 document and then looking at the courses that you offer in your class to simplify it for students, parents, and counselors. On the next slide, this is an example of I think it skipped one.
Yeah, let me go back, Christy. I think we just maybe had these 2 out of order.
Oh, okay, no problem. This is just an example of a one-pager that we created. that shows each career pathway, and it gives important information regarding that pathway. So it lists the course offerings and the sequences, which endorsement they are related to, which courses are considered advanced toward an endorsement, any prerequisites, and any dual credit or articulation opportunities. We also had each teacher write a student-friendly description of each course. This just makes it easier if students are trying to decide between several different pathways. They get a full overview of the entire pathway to make a better choice. Some additional information that is shared is definitely certifications are important. They're so useful to our students, and we offer over 40 in our district. So we always make sure all 8th and 9th graders know what they are and why they are useful. We also discuss the many benefits of student organizations, including leadership and competitive opportunities, as well as items that will add to college and scholarship applications and resumes. We stress the hands-on nature of CTE and the opportunity to learn at the job site instead of just in the classroom. And then we do have to go over admission requirements for the few courses we have that sometimes do not have enough room for everybody who requests it. Finally, this year, in place of our annual CTE night, we started doing a CTE do-it-yourself event on Saturday morning. And it's been more successful. I don't know if the Saturday morning time is just easier for parents and students to attend. But we're having our second event this Saturday, and we have quite a few people already signed up. As you can see on the flyer, there are a variety of sessions for all ages from kindergarten through adult. And so this just gives everyone the opportunity to not only tour our classrooms and labs, but also participate in a hands-on activity. Additionally, I am able to do 2 sessions in which I can help students and parents with their career and college questions. While I will briefly share the various resources offered through Texas OnCourse, the bulk of the sessions will be based on suggestions and activities within the Family Planning Guide. If you have not seen this resource, you can find it on the Texas OnCourse website under Tools, and it is full of helpful website resources and activities on endorsement and career pathway advising.
Okay, Christy and Lori, thank you so much. I'm going to open it up for questions now because I know we had 1 or 2 chats that came up in our chat box. So let me open that up. From Carrie Proctor, thank you for this information. I am sharing the career hotline info with my students right after this webinar. Fantastic, thank you very much, Carrie. I'm gonna leave it open now for attendees to go ahead and write in any questions or comments you have in the chat box. Yes, we can get, the question is, can we get contact information on the panelists? You absolutely can. We will send out the recording of this webinar and also highlight some of the resources that we covered in the webinar, links and things, and also offer all of the contact information for staff at OnCourse and our guest speakers. So absolutely. Yes, the TWC website. Let me go back and I can put that up.
Laura, I'm not sure I had the TWC website address on there, unless they're asking for the our email address or JobsYall, yeah. But those are the, I don't know that I have the main one on there.
And do you know what that website is? That just TWC?
It's LMCI. It's just www.lmci, like labor market career information, lmci.state.tx.us. That's for our main website.
Okay. I went ahead and typed that website in, and we will follow it up and include that in an email as well.
Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, we will include all those resources. Oh, thank you, Jaslyn. We went ahead and we have the LMCI. I had a typo in there. lmci.state.tx.ud.
No, it's the the N should be an M, so I was gonna put it in there, and then it just,
US.
yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine. We both had typos, but we'll make sure we get it right when we send you all an email.
Thanks, Lori.
I just put it in there, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, our webinar replay will be available within the next day or two. We had a question about when we would post the webinar. We have that on our homepage. We also have all of our archived webinars from our tools menu. You can find that at texasoncores.org. So just real quickly, I do want to highlight a few upcoming webinars that we have.
And there's one question, this is Jaslyn, about the PowerPoint presentation. We will also post the PowerPoint presentation for you to download as well.
Thank you, Jaslyn. Yes, we post the slides as well as the recording. So on March 5th, our next monthly webinar, we will cover assessments and test taking strategies. If you go to our webinar page, you can register for any of these in advance. And then April 2nd, we're gonna cover essays, writing samples, and resumes in the college admissions process and scholarships as well. May 7th, we have a lot of interest in college readiness and the TSIA exam. And then the last webinar of the school year is June 4th on advising students with unique needs and circumstances. So we'll talk a little bit about special populations and advising those students. So you can see those webinars. And then we also have a special Map My Grad webinar this week on February 7th, 2019 at 2 p.m. And just one other quick announcement, a lot of you know this already, but our Leader Fellows application is currently open, and the deadline for those applications for our next cohort of Leader Fellows is March 8th. So please spread the word on those events, webinars, and things like that. We will stay on for a couple of more minutes to see if there's any other questions for our panelists or for our staff. Great. Well, I don't see any. I want to say once again, special thanks to Lori Knight at TWC. Thank you, Christy, for your best practices at the campus level and from the Encore staff and the content team. We will post this and get this email to you all out as soon as possible. So thank you again so much for joining us, and have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I am free at